Welcome to Getting It On with James and Heather. I'm Heather Dawn.
And I'm James Guay, and we're dishing out sex, love, and relationship advice.
Without all the sexual snobbery.
And today we're talking about dating do's and don'ts, dating etiquette, right?
Yes. What happened to dating etiquette is the better question.
Hello.
And so we're going to take a look at the old school world, the current day world, pre-dating, tips, during dating tips, end of dating tips, some obstacles, and then a few sprinkles in between, because who doesn't like sprinkles?
Especially sprinkles cupcakes.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
Deadly.
I know. So getting back to dating, dating, the old school world of dating, it has trickled into the new world, but really social media has been the big game changer.
Right. And old school dating, we're talking about sort of the rituals of chivalry, regardless of gender, but usually in the heterosexual world, yes. Male to female. And again, this is about sort of face-to-face contact and slow building and consideration and kindness.
Yeah, and so, when you were looking at old school dating, and I had a boy when I was in high school that actually asked my parents if it was okay to date me. And, that was considered sort of like, oh my gosh, really? I can't believe he did that. And yeah, but you know what? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I know people are like, oh, Heather, you're an old soul. Old soul, schmold soul.
Hello.
It was really neat to sort of have this guy that I totally dig because I thought it was so cool and adorable. And, and again, maybe it wasn't the same old school dating heterosexually as it was for the gay community because you guys were a little bit more covert, right. Given your suppressed rights.
Right. We were behind closed doors, no windowed type bars and homes. We were in the alleyways and the parks. And, because, again, old school, it wasn't acceptable as it is today to be in love with and attracted to the same gender. Now, new school, right? There are gay proms. Like people are going to their regular proms, LGBTQ people, and becoming, the kings and queens and, nominated for all kinds of things. So
Wouldn't that
really
have been
changed,
nice
right?
if you were a kid? Oh my God, could you imagine?
I know adults that go to these LGBTQ proms just to sort of re-experience that missed experience growing up, right?
That actually breaks my heart. That's a really nice story.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the old school world of dating and we're, seeing how it's enmeshed, I want to say that a lot of this is coming from the heterosexual perspective because as we just discussed, the LGBT community didn't really have a lot of the rights and support, right? So, but a lot of that chivalry, the bringing of flowers, the asking your parents, the opening of the car doors, and the more important, the person-to-person contact is really important, a lot of these things, especially the person-to-person contact, because when we're looking at current dating and dating etiquettes, it's a big hodgepodge now, right? You can't tell, who's there to be a player, and you can't tell who's there for something serious. It's a podium. Everybody's just getting up there and saying what they want and what they don't want. It's a business deal. It's very transactional, speed dating and all this stuff.
Sure.
And
there's advantages with social media and this sort of new technology when it comes to dating. We get access to more people. We can sort of develop more of our own sort of this is who we are and part of our profile and whatnot. And yet, again, it has these disadvantages in terms of like disconnecting us from the face-to-face experiences, right?
Yes.
Where it's way too frequent, where it's like the grass is greener, that someone else is going to be better or be a better match for me, so I got to keep dating.
More isn't necessarily better, even though we're giving a ton of opportunities and lots of choices in these dating apps and online programs. The reality is the reason that there's a surge in matchmaking, like our friend Alessandra Conti, who is on our show, people are needing to get filtered down because it's too much, because it shows that people are actually happier when they've made a decision, not necessarily because they have more options.
Right.
There's less anxiety when you actually have something and you're committed and focused on it. But when you're given so much, it's hard to, make a choice. So there are some positives. You get more choices. Negative is it's hard to then make a choice.
Right. So we're going to be talking again about pre-date, during the date, and post-date. But what it sort of all breaks down to is two things, right? One is be authentic. right? Be yourself.
Yes, don't show up as your representative.
No, because someone's falling in love with your representative instead of you, right? And 2 is be kind. Be really kind both to yourself and the other people that you're interacting with.
And I'd also like to add being respectful and being considerate.
Yeah.
Now, some people inherently embody these qualities. It's how they were raised. It's their morals and values. Other people have to work at it a little bit harder because they weren't raised for whatever reasons. Everything is justified. But if you're looking to get into the dating world and have it to be a little bit more successful, you want to consider at least those 4 things: kindness, authenticity, respect, and consideration. Yeah. So pre-dates, right? Pre-dates. Talking about some etiquettes and rules there.
The profile, right? I think, it's really important that there be some level of accuracy. If you've played tennis once in the last 5 years and
you're
you put
not
that
a
as an
tennis
interest,
player.
right? Or you have a photo that's 10, 15, 20 years old, or your age is 10, 15, 20 years different than your accurate age. Those are the kinds of things that build the beginnings on a really shaky ground.
Correct. And I'd like to say, just to add to that, I actually encourage people, just because it's very ageist out there, especially against women. I don't mind, for me, even if men, and it's happened to me, I've had men lie to me up to 10 years. 10 years is a little too much for me, but I think 5 years is fair. As long as you come clean on that first phone call, that first text, or that first meetup. If you perpetuate the lie, and don't lie about why you said it. I mean, reality is, I live in an ageist society, especially against women, and I had to lie so that you could see who I was in person despite my age. That's fair. 10, 15, 20 years, not so fair. Lying about it through several dates, not so fair.
Right, we want to put our best self forward. So yeah, we might have lights, we might have makeup, but it needs to be probably within the past year, right?
Yes.
And if there's been any major developments in that period of time, just make it accurate so people aren't surprised when you actually meet them in person. Right?
Exactly. So pre-dates, profile pretty damn accurate. Texting. Do not get sucked up into that texting black hole.
Never-ending texting.
Oh my gosh. And the emails and the texts and the emails and the texts. To really get an idea of someone, you actually need to be in their presence. You need to hear their voice and the tone at which they're speaking, their mannerisms. Get on the phone sooner than later.
Right. You can tell a lot through tone, through inflection, through pacing, right? The kinds of things they say without sort of the forethought to send an emoji or, it's just different. You get a lot more information.
If they're interrupters, like I just did to him, or listeners.
X'd out. Teasing. But again, it can actually, you can weed people out possibly, right, via phone call versus spending the time, your time, their time, doing an in-person sort of meeting. It may not be necessary.
And ask questions and listen, right? So you're on that first phone call. I can't tell you how many times it didn't get past the call just because I'm like, oh, so I'm looking to settle down. I'm looking for my last date ever. And they're like, yeah, my divorce is almost complete. Okay, I mean, I believe
Listen to
you.
what they say, right?
Exactly.
Some people say I'm an asshole. I don't know why. Listen to them. Believe them when they're telling you things like this, right?
Exactly. And you're not looking for perfect. You're just looking for someone who at least has enough similarities to your relationship goals.
Your core values.
And your core values,
right?
Exactly. And then you'll meet in person and see if there's any chemistry.
See, I can interrupt you too.
I love when you interrupt me. So those are your pre-date things. Get off the texting sooner than later. Get on the phone calls, meet in person, communicate, and have an accurate picture. So now we're on the date.
And plan, right? Make certain that you're actually planning the dates in a way that sort of, it's not like left up to the last minute, right?
Yeah.
It can even be a coffee date, right? Where you don't want to invest the time and energy in a dinner if you don't want to. Meet them first, see, and then go to dinner if it goes well. It's
communicate,
important.
ping pong, tennis. It's a give and take.
Yes, that too.
And I know for the ladies, especially the ladies I've spoken to over the years as clients and friends, that chivalry also extends to them. That the man makes the first move. That he's more the hunter. And
Like
and
Bumble,
that's,
right?
yes, but Bumble's the opposite. So Bumble, came along and offered, a woman to make the first move, which a lot of men really loved and relished to, and it's kind of neat. But then, guys, you got to be willing to make that second move, which is you're chatting. Hey, can I have your number? Let's talk on the phone. You don't want to keep putting one person in charge all the time. It's got to be a give and take.
Right. So again, it's about reciprocity here.
Ooh, fancy words. Let's get on to dating,
During the
please.
dating, yes, let's do.
So you're on your date. What's proper etiquette? Hi.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I thought we
No,
were having
I'm just I'm in the show with James. We're shooting 1 second. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Rude.
No, I'll be able to pick it up as... What?
Can you stop that, please? That's what we're talking about, right? If you're in the middle of a conversation and someone picks up their phone, it's really distracting and it makes it seem like they're not interested in what you have to say, of course. So it's about, if you do have an emergency or something that's really super important, let them know, give them a
Family,
heads up.
kids, your physician.
Yeah, say, you know what, I got this emergency situation. I won't take any other call, but if this one happens, I'm going to need to step away. Otherwise, turn it off, go to the bathroom and use it.
Yes, go to the bathroom and use it. Not in the way that he's thinking.
Little vibrator phone action going on.
And I need to give James a little bit of credit because that phone gag was his. Usually I come up with all little silly, stupid gags, but he actually came up with that one. So yes, limit your phone use, limit your texting, pay attention to the person you're with.
Right.
Do listening as much as you do talking.
Yes. This is, I've had so many dating experiences where the person is just like going on and on and on, which can be a way for people to sort of self-soothe their own
Anxieties.
Or it can be part of like their own sort of self-absorption or narcissism. They may be more interested in sharing who they are with you than listening who you are for them. This sort of taps into, we had another guest on our show, Dr. Chris Donahue, and he says it's important to date to be known versus dating to be liked, right? So it's really important for us to show up, to, interact in a way that it's 50-50. We're hearing, we're talking in ways that we can actually get to know someone and they can get to know us.
Ask questions, not just what you do, but who are you? It's a question I ask a lot if I'm on a date, if I happen to be single. I always want to know, who is it you think that you are, not what you do. It'll get you thinking. Now that may be too deep for some people, and maybe that's just not your match if you tend to skew in that direction.
Right.
So also, don't drink too much.
All right.
So 1 drink is okay, maybe 2 depending on how long you're together, but you want to be clear-headed because again, this is a new date and you want to be able to sense who this person is.
Right. If you're like usually sort of taking some kind of substance consistently throughout the day, this isn't about sort of shifting that up dramatically, but it is about being at your usual baseline so you can fully show up as you are typically in a day, and also for them to see you in that way.
Exactly. Engage with your body language, engage not just, we had mentioned verbal skills and listening, but sitting at a date like this or like this, right, tells a lot about what's going on as opposed to being interested in the other person.
Yeah, body language says a lot. So again, this can also be about eye contact, right? And depending on the cultural differences,
body contact,
consistent
body language,
contact, or diverting your eyes on occasion, looking away. Again, there's differences in terms of cultural, racial demographics as well. So
throw out the compliments.
Oh, yeah.
If you like something you see, you're so pretty.
Thank you. So are you.
You're so smart.
And so are you.
So a lot of the times when compliments come out, it's always like, oh man, you've got, really great biceps, and hey, you're looking really hot in that dress. There's probably more things to compliment besides just physical appearance.
Right.
So if you like something that someone's saying, their smell, their topic of conversation, feel free to express yourself. It's really important, especially on new dates. Nobody's a psychic, so communicate.
Yep. Communicate that you're interested, right?
Exactly.
Interested people show interest.
And that also reminds us, careful about the topics you choose. I'm a big fan, and so is James, because we're both open and easy. I can talk about anything. And I've had guys ask me, hey, do you mind talking about politics? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But I also am not someone who takes things personally. Most people are not that way, and you need to understand that.
Right.
So you may want to avoid religion and politics?
Yeah, you can
just
keep it
first.
kind of, yeah, you can keep it light in the first date. You know, it doesn't have to be all surface material, but, you know, usually talking about politics and religion are two topics that are more controversial or more risky.
Or I once had a client ask me, you know, this girl stopped talking to me because, you know, I was talking about my eye abscess, you know, so like... Again, if you've been with someone for a while or you happen to be in the medical field or whatever, it's one thing. But most people don't want to hear about your eye abscess, your hemorrhoids, or other things when they don't know you. And then some people can be in 10, 20, 30-year relationships and it's like, oh, you know, I'll never go to the bathroom in front of my husband. So talking about things that could be bodily related.
Bodily fluid related.
You may want to watch that topic too. Unless you're like me and you're like this adolescent boy inside. And
well, and in terms of during the date too, there can, for gay men, you know, it can be about sort of noticing the nuances of who's initiating and who's sort of asserting their needs, and is there any sort of quality that's about their expression of masculinity, their interest. These are all kinds of cues to pick up on while the date's happening, right?
Exactly. So those are some things to consider etiquette-wise during the date. You know, when you're looking now to end the date, you know, communicate. Don't assume anything. Just because you had a great time doesn't mean somebody else did. So if you both had a really great time, or even if he did and she didn't, or she did and he didn't, send a little text or a thank you. I always recommend in heterosexuals that the man pays, at least for the first time. You can split it the next time or Dutch it, or she can exchange the favor. But some of those old school values I have found in talking with my female friends who make tons of money, some who don't, that there's just something to be said about that man who says, oh, you know, let me get this. By the way, it can be, you know, a happy hour drink. It can be a coffee. It does not have to be a really expensive thing, especially as you're getting to know each other.
Yeah, and we're diverse too. So I know certainly plenty of heterosexual couples or people that also like to do the Dutch thing or to switch it up, right? If it feels more egalitarian for whatever reason, you know, certainly do what's within your own comfort level, and also respect that someone else may have a different comfort level. So for gay men or lesbian couples or bisexual people, transgender people, this, you know, oftentimes this is just about noticing the cues, maybe offering to pay, seeing if they're more demonstrative, you know, or if you feel like it, you can be more demonstrative, that there's space for all of us to, you know, get our needs met here.
Exactly. Communication is always key. And remember, when you're dealing with etiquette and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? Do I not call for 3 days? Be kind, be considerate, be respectful, be authentic.
Right. You don't have to play games. If it feels like you want to like do that after date text or like checking in the next day and just saying, hey, had a great time, would love to do it again. You also don't have to commit to having another date if you don't want one, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to say what you mean and mean what you say. So at the end of the day, I know it can feel like a rejection if you don't say, oh, let's do this again. But that also can lead someone on in a way that's actually ends up being more hurtful than if you were to say something like, well, thanks for your time. It was nice meeting you. Take good care, right?
Exactly. That being said, if you find yourself caught in a loop where you're constantly having obstacles and none of these dates after dates after date aren't going right, it may be time to flip some of those lenses inward, because it can't be all the apps. It can't be all the men or women you've gone out with. At some point you're going to have to go, you know, maybe there's something I'm doing. And you may want to reassess what your dating profile is. Maybe there's something you're communicating that's attracting a typical type of person. It may be your body language, the dialogue, you know, maybe you're being too confrontational, or you're not listening or engaging enough.
It could be repeating patterns of finding people that are not well matched for you, right? So meeting those that are unavailable or that are self-absorbed or narcissistic, or people that you can take care of. So notice those patterns and look at what's going on there for you. That can be, you know, with trusted family and friends. It could be with a life coach, a therapist, whoever you feel safe and comfortable to kind of do some of that internal exploration.
And I'll go one step further to saying, which is, again, this is only if your obstacles have been repetitive and ongoing and long-term. When you flip that lens inward, sometimes, and it takes a lot of courage, but you may want to ask the last person or two or three that you went out on a date with for some feedback in a constructive way, meaning you're not looking to be attacked, you're not looking to be criticized, emphasized, but you are looking to better your dating opportunities. And so could they offer you some feedback from their perspective on how the date went? I don't recommend fighting if you don't like the answers that you get.
Right.
You know, everything needs to be honest and on the upfront.
Yeah, and people may feel too scared to actually be honest or accurate with why. So take it with a grain of salt, and again, you can ask for it. It may not be something that someone's comfortable sharing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in general, remember 4 dating do's and don'ts: be kind,
Be authentic,
be respectful,
and be considerate.
and then apply that to your dating life.
Yes.
And meet people in person.
I know, right? Yes.
Get away from the computers and the social media.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can find us on the jamesandheathershow.com. You can email us, or the phone number will be right here. You can tell us your questions, the topics you'd like us to discuss, or anything else. We can even put you on the show.
Yay.
Woo.
Have a great, great day.
Bye, everyone.